Welcome to Resource Review from here at the Science Museum in London. Our aim is to help you choose resources that will make a real difference to your teaching. Today we'll feature resources for primary numeracy. The resources we'll be looking at are Maths Mansion, an interactive CD-ROM produced by 4Learning, and Motivational Maths, a book of activities published by Primed. And later, with the help of our panel, we'll be discussing how effective these resources are for the teaching of primary numeracy. But first, let's have a look at these resources in action. We visit Fitzjohn's Primary School in Hampstead, where Pete Vinovitz is teaching his Key Stage 2 Year 4 class about perimeter and area. We begin by looking at the Maths Mansion CD-ROM from 4Learning. Maths Mansion is an interactive numeracy CD-ROM set in a Gothic mansion. Players are trapped inside and are only able to work their way out by solving the maths problems which are presented to them. Let's see how Pete and his class found the resource.
Press enter. Yes. 6 centimetres. I used Maths Mansion, which was a series on Channel 4. This is the CD-ROM. To solve, and we're going to do this at the end of the lesson, to solve the tricks by finding the perimeter. The particular area we're doing today is perimeter and area, so if I click on there, immediately I have the option for a video to come on, which could be used as part of an oral mental session at the beginning of a lesson. And as you can see, we've got this really fun animation. It's quite a good resource, really, not terribly suited towards sort of direct teaching in terms of main class, but really useful for small groups, for picking up how children are interpreting your main teaching. It's really, really good. It's the kind of thing that a child could use to solidify and cement work that you've done in class at home, because it has that sort of gamey feel to it, you know, choose a shield, choose a name or a nickname. And I guess the whole point of the CD is to make maths fun. 10. So 10 from there plus something equals 20. So A equals 10 plus A equals 20. What do you need to add on to 10 to make 20? Okay. Oh, Max is way ahead of me. So what's the perimeter? Now that you've got the A and you've got B. It's quite a tough resource. I think if a child hasn't picked up on the main points of a lesson, to throw them into this unguided would be cruel and unusual punishment, really. But no, generally it is. It's for children who have generally got the main point, that you can leave them independently, check up on them from time to time. My attention as a teacher is drawn to children who are making incorrect answers, because I can hear the noise, so immediately I can pinpoint which children are having difficulty. Pretty graphic representations of what I'm trying to achieve in a maths lesson, in terms of splitting up a shape into rectangles and then finding out the perimeter and the area of each. So it's very, very visual. Okay, let's add A onto it. 4 plus 12 is...
16.
16 plus 8 is... 24 plus 16 is...
It's 56.
Ah, you don't need my help.
We've just seen the Maths Mansion interactive CD-ROM demonstrated in the classroom. And now to discuss it with us, we have our Resource Review panel. Andrew Combe, Deputy Head Teacher of Eastfield Primary School and our Primary Numeracy Specialist. Adrienne Jones, who's a freelance education consultant. And Alan Mills, Head of the Affiliation Network Specialist Schools Trust. Welcome to you all. Andrew, if I can come to you first. This CD-ROM is designed to make maths fun for pupils. Do you think it's also a valuable educational resource?
Well, I think with all ICT, the aim of it, does it enhance pupils' learning in mathematics? And as the teacher said on the video, what it does help to do is perhaps consolidate some of the learning. There are also other aspects that we need to consider. It doesn't give the children the opportunity to be asked questions about area and perimeter. You know, for example, draw me 2 shapes that have got an area of 10 square centimetres, draw me 2 rectangles that have got a perimeter. So it can help to consolidate the work, but only part of the work with area and perimeter. And also I think with CD-ROMs, the teacher was helped there because he had an interactive whiteboard where it could be accessible to all pupils. There are still lots of primary school classrooms that don't have interactive whiteboards.
Adrienne, during the VT, we saw the teacher highlighting the fact that the programme alerts when a student's done something wrong. Is that something that we want to do as educationalists with young children?
Well, if you've got a classroom and individual children or a pair of children working, you can't be at all pairs of children at the same time. So it's useful in the sense that, as he said, it alerted him to where he needed to go next. The children aren't going to put their hands up and say, "Oh, I've got this wrong." And it's a rather subtle way, actually, for him to be given a clue as to where they might need some help. And in fact, the way he drifted in and out showed that most of the children that were working had a level of competence and could find their way round the programme, and that's always a good plus point. If the children can independently find their way around a CD-ROM, that shows that it's been fairly well designed. So I think from that point of view, it's something that actually teachers could use with children and know that they can be fairly independent in their own learning.
Okay. Alan, any comments you'd like to make?
I think I agree it was well designed. I wasn't quite sure about the way it was being used. I mean, I agree with you about the interactive whiteboard. You can't rely on that, and it was necessary to get that going. Personally, I found the noise response when something went wrong irritating in a few seconds. Surely it must have irritated the rest of the class as well. So there's things like that. When you use ICT, very many of the things that they think are exciting, actually I find in a classroom distinctly depressing. If you're stuck with that noise over and over again, it's going to put you off learning. So it looked like a good CD-ROM, but I don't think it particularly added that much to the resources that teacher clearly had at his arsenal already.
Now let's look at our second resource, the Motivational Maths book from Pri-Med Publishing. Motivational Maths is a very different and more traditional paper-based resource. But like Maths Mansion, its activities focus on bringing out the magic in maths. It's a photocopyable resource of lesson starters focusing on mathematical tricks. Does it really spark pupils' imagination and encourage problem solving? Let's return to our class.
Max, let's start really easy. What shape have we got?
A square.
We've got a square. But Max, what's the problem here if you didn't know maths? You'd think there's only one measurement given. All the sides of a square are the same. Motivational Maths by Paul Swan. It's, I think it's geared towards higher achievers. Essentially, the book is a series of quizzes, games and puzzles that are designed to really test the knowledge and application of maths, fire investigations for older children. What about if I give you one side? Oh, let me give you this side here. 19 centimetres. Can I find the perimeter
Should be 9 centimeters.
with one measurement? Hands up if you think you can find the perimeter of that rectangle with one measurement. Easy. It can be used. I was tinkering with using it for a perimeter and area puzzle today. And the crux of the problem was children had to put together a shape, find the area, and then following instructions sort of tear it up again and put it together where the area, mystifyingly, was 1 square centimetre more. And how is that possible? How can you move from 64 square centimetres to 65 just by cutting up a shape and rearranging it?
But also there's something entirely wrong because you can never work out the area because you don't have the top line except the 3 centimetres, and so there won't be anything because you don't have the measurement of the bottom line.
For older children, it's great, it's hands-on, it's really investigative maths, so putting into practice the principles they've learned. For younger children, I think you could happily use it in a sort of Year 4, Year 5, Year 6 plenary to make kids go, wow, how did you do that? Because it would really give the wow factor, and kids would be like, geez, that is amazing, I want to learn more about that. Or in terms of older children moving on through the key stages into Key Stage 3, sort of saying, how can I use the knowledge that I've got to solve that problem? Because it is really investigative. So there's a huge range of both number activities here as well as shape and space activities that I would actually highly recommend.
Okay, Andrew, what do you think of the Motivational Maths book?
Well, I have to say I'm not as enthusiastic as the teacher on the video. To me, I had a few problems with the book. For example, on the start it talks about lesson starters, which I think people might confuse with your mental and oral starter. And also at the beginning of the book, there's no real link to teaching objectives in mathematics. I thought that detracted from the book as well. For somebody like myself who's really interested in maths, and I'm lucky I just teach maths all the time, it's the type of book I dip into, find a few problems in there that I do with the children in solving puzzles. But it's not a book I don't think that many teachers would use on a regular basis. If anything, it's the kind of book that you might buy and put in the staff room library.
Adrienne, would you agree with that?
I would, totally. It's very dense, so it would be difficult for it to be a pupil book. I think it's, 10 ideas to do for teachers, and for that purpose it's probably quite good, but it may work better with older pupils, but I think it's more, certainly at primary level.
Alan, but we want to have things that are challenging for students, don't we?
I'm not sure if the actual approach of it is particularly challenging. I do think you could pick into it and grab on puzzles and ideas that might be quite exciting, especially if you're not really a specialist maths teacher, you haven't really got that as your approach. I do think there's something about it. It does sort of illuminate the magic of maths, certainly, in certain ways, because there are things in it that are definitely exciting and certainly interesting, but it's certainly not a core text. It's certainly not something which will be used generally. It's a drop in, have a look at, maybe get an idea from, and move on rapidly.
Beyond the 2 resources we focused on here, let's have a look and see what else is out there in the market for primary numeracy. Andrew, is there anything that's particularly caught your eye?
Teaching mental calculation strategies in year 5 and 6, published by Beam Education. And what I particularly like about these resources are they link very clearly with what the learning objectives for mental calculations, but also they give plenty of ideas of how to achieve these learning objectives by children playing games, working either with partners or in small groups. And I've used these a lot and found them really, really valuable.
And do you have another resource, Andrew?
Again, mental and oral starters are target boards from Clare Publications. They're just a set of numbers. It could be numbers, tens and units. It could be numbers associated with measurement, fractions, decimals and percentages. And again, often when you're asking children questions in a mental and oral starter, if you don't have a resource, the children forget the first number that you say. So that again, they're a really valuable resource.
Thank you. So to recap, the 2 resources we've looked at today are the Maths Mansion Interactive CD-ROM from 4Learning and the Motivational Maths Activities book from Pri-Med Publishing. So Andrew, of the resources that we've seen, which one would you recommend?
I would go for the Maths Mansion because I think there are parts of the CD-ROM which are good for consolidating work that's already been taught by the teacher. And on the clip we saw, the children did seem involved in their learning, and that's always a good thing.
Thank you. So, our resource review panel recommendation today is Maths Mansion Interactive CD-ROM from 4Learning. If you'd like further details on any of the resources from today's programme, you can get them from our website at teachers.tv/resource review. Or if you'd like to get in contact with us, you can do so via email, and the address for that is resourcereview@teachers.tv. So all it remains for me to do is to thank our panel. Thank you very much. And thank you for watching. So it's goodbye from me at Resource Review. Goodbye.